Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
All right, we're up to number 19 inside the top 20 of the 2022 49ers roster countdown. And, man, maybe one of the more polarizing players in the views of the fans, that's defensive end, edge player Samson Ebukam. Incredible story, which we're going to get through. His stats, it has a lot more in common with some of the 49ers players from the past than I originally thought, and I even did a free agent write-up on him. But, you know, the more you dive into these players, the more connections you learn, and the football world's very connected. It is a microorganism that just has so many connections that, you know, I wouldn't have guessed. He's entering into his sixth season. And he's got a little bit of a cap hit. We'll get into the contract. We're going to show some film highlights. We are also going to dive into, we're going to get to hear the defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans, talking about his progress, things like that. So buckle in. We got a lot because, you know, whenever free agency period hit, Samson, a lot of people were floating around on Twitter and other places. This would be a release candidate or a trade candidate. I never saw that. It never came to fruition, and I don't think it is either way. I think the 49ers see Samson as a starter, and there's a reason why I have him number 19. And if you look back and see what he did in 2021, pretty sizable. And if you look forward in what he will do in 2022, he's going to have a very large role at a premium position, the edge player in the 49ers defense. And think about all the defensive ends that they have on this roster. He's up there, man. He's going to get a lot more snaps than Drake Jackson. That's just the reality of the situation his rookie year. Now, will he be on the team next year? I don't think so. I think this is his last year with the 49ers. But this is who's going to have the biggest impact this year. And that's why Samson comes in at 19. He wears jersey number 56, 6'3", 245. He's 27 years old, entering into his sixth season. Speed, freak athlete. That's what you need. We'll get into some measurements for sure, but this dude, absolute freaking behemoth of a human being. Went to David Douglas High School in Portland, Oregon, stayed up in the Northwest, and went to Eastern Washington, the red field. If you've ever watched film, it's like Boise, but it's solid red. It's annoying as hell. Was a communication studies major, 3-star recruit, and while he was at Eastern Washington, guess who he was teammates with? Kendrick Bourne and Cooper Kupp. Pretty stout team for a lower division school, and they accomplished a hell of a lot while those three were there, all graduating the same year, moving on to the NFL. Now, just some of the background on him, and you know what? I'm going to go ahead and throw up some film. This was when the 49ers signed him in 2021, before the 2021 season. He was with the Rams for 4 years. Never missed. One of the craziest stats I found on him, he has never missed one game in 5 years of the NFL. He's played every one. And with the Rams and the 49ers, he's been in the playoffs almost every damn year and never missed a game. This dude is the ultimate dependable player in the NFL, which is crazy to me because you have the same kind of 49ers trolls talking about cutting and releasing him or trading him. And then at the other side of their mouth, they're talking about how, man, we need players that are more dependable. This is the most dependable player in the NFL. He has not missed one game in 5 years, despite having a very, very high snap rate. So this is a cut up that I did of his time with the Rams. And again, they were running, a 3-4, and he was doing the outside backer stuff off the edge, but similar, not the same, but it's similar. And man, you can just see effort, speed, explosion, strength. That's what he brings to the table. Now, he was born, and I'm going to mess this up, Onitsha, Nigeria. He and his family moved to the United States at the age of 9 years old. Played defensive end and tackle and fullback as a senior in high school. Placed second in both the shot put and javelin at the state 6A track championships for Oregon. So he's got some upper body strength. There's no doubt about it. Earned first team all Mount Hood Conference honors as a defensive end and honorable mention as a tight end. He was just an absolute stud. Now, some honors that he has won in his time in college: 2013 freshman All-American team, 2013 big conference all-academic team. Again, that's the most common denominator of all these players on the roster. all academic team, very important. 2014, second team, all Big Sky Conference. 2014, all academic team, Big Sky Conference. 2015, second team, all Big Sky Conference. 2015, all academic team. 2016, preseason first team, all Big Sky Conference. And sure enough, he ended up making it through his season, first team, all Big Sky. Third team All-American, first team All-American from the AFCA, 2016 Big Sky Conference All-Academic team, and again, never missed a game. He hasn't missed anything. That's incredible to me. Played mostly outside linebacker, as you're seeing in these clips with the Los Angeles Rams. Whenever he signed with the 49ers, he struggled a little bit early. Not so much that he struggled, he just wasn't productive, okay? It's not like he was having negative plays out there. He just wasn't having impact plays. That changed halfway through the season and on the playoff run. During the playoff run, dude he had a really, really good stretch. Those last 5 to 6 games was very, very good. Now let's just look at his metrics. 6'3", 245. Whenever he came into the league, 6'2", 240. He did not get invited to the combine, being from a smaller school. And so a lot of these numbers, you can say whatever you want, but they're pro day numbers, not combine numbers. 4.4540 as an edge player, weighing 245 pounds. That's pretty stupid. It's really, really, really good. 24 bench press reps, very strong upper body. 7.023 cone. That's incredible. 39-inch vertical, insane. 10-10 broad jump, shows his lower body explosiveness. Freak athlete, man. That's just what he is. Now, my scouting report before he ever took a snap with the 49ers, I wrote this down in all caps. Speed, 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 and more speed. That's just what he brings off the edge. Now, he's not a bend guy like Bosa or Drake Jackson. That's not really what he has. It's speed and power and athleticism. And it shows on every play. Like, you're watching these, these are highlights that I cut up. But at the same time, like, everybody else looks slower than him. This is in the NFL now that these clips are coming out at you. Like, his speed translates. Amazing hustle, and most production comes off effort. Again, the antithesis to Bosa and Drake Jackson, who are elite talents with elite traits for the edge position. That's not who Samson is. Samson is a freak athlete who happens to play defensive end. Very strong upper body. Sometimes he surprises you with his leverage, but he's not great getting off the block. I put this, bad in coverage, but guess what? We don't run a 3-4. He won't be doing that for us. He played 15 snaps in coverage for the 49ers last year in 2021. Does miss tackles too often. This was one of the things that I was very pleasantly surprised with. He's had 5 missed tackles every single year in the league coming into his year last year with the 49ers. Guess how many missed tackles he had for the 49ers last year? A big donut. 0 missed tackles in his entire year for the 49ers. 0. Which is incredible whenever you realize, okay, Samson had 681 defensive snaps. 0 missed tackles. The next closest 49er that had 0 missed tackles was Diamador Lenore, who had 238 snaps. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I had to double check 2 sources, and no missed tackles. So what are the things that Samson brings, to the table? Consistency, high energy, high effort, and athleticism and speed. And he doesn't make bad plays. Now, is he a huge impact player? No, he's not. But he's consistent. So on that strong side defensive end, apart from Bosa, who's getting double teamed and all that stuff, you have a very reliable, consistent understanding of the defense. And this permeates the entire defensive structure. If you look at D'Amico Ryans in the linebacker core, we've talked ad nauseum about the difference between Drake Greenlaw and Azeez Al-Shire, which they're both incredible. But who gets the most playing time? Drake Greenlaw. Why? He's the most consistent. You can look at the defensive end, whether it's Charles Omenihu or Drake Jackson or, Samson Ebukam, which again, I've said this before in videos. Those 3 are in the same tier for me. I have Samson at the top. He's going to be the starter. 49ers see him as a starter. But those 3 are kind of in a tier of their own. The next tier down is going to be Kamiko Toure, Jordan Willis, Kerry Hyder, those guys. But it goes Bosa by himself, then Ebukam, Drake Jackson, and Charles Omenihu. The reason why Ebukam gets so many more snaps is just consistency. Doesn't make mistakes. That's not what he does. He was drafted in the 4th round, pick number 125 by the Rams in 2017, and he's gotten a lot of playing time. Again, never missed a game. He's played in every single game he's been at. He's played in every game. He had 2 starts his rookie year, 14 starts next year, 5 starts third year, 14 starts his 4th year, and then with us, 11 starts. Remember, he didn't start outside until they kicked Armstead inside, and that's when the defense blew up. More because of Armstead than Ebukam, but still, that's there. If you look at what he accomplished last year for the 49ers, just regular season stats, by the way, 1 pass breakup, 1 forced fumble, 4.5 sacks, which 3 straight years he's had 4.5 sacks, 38 tackles, 5 tackle for loss, 11 quarterback hits. Dive into a little more deeper analytics. He had 45 total pressures, 3rd most on the team behind Bosa and Armstead. That's kind of where he fits. 26 solo run stops. That's 4th most on the defensive line behind Bosa, DJ Jones, and Eric Armstead. 681 defensive snaps. 3rd most on the defensive line behind guess who? Bosa and Armstead. That's where this team sees him. Is he one of those elite guys like Bosa Armstead? No, he's not. But he is a starter, and they are fine keeping him out there as a starter. The contract, and I think this is where a lot of the casual fans kind of jump to the conclusion of trade or release. He signed a 2-year, $12 million deal with the 49ers March 15th, 2021. He has an $8.2 million cap hit this year. That's a lot. It's not a whole lot. It's 32nd in the NFL, just if you look at edge players. That's it. Just defensive ends, it's the 32nd highest capped hit. So it is a little high. And I think that's where the trade stuff started. And if the 49ers did trade or cut him, they would save $6.5 million. That's not the way they're going to operate. You're talking about a team that values the defensive line more than any other position, perhaps than quarterback. No way in hell they're going to cut who they perceive as a starter to save $6.5 million. It would take, they'd have to get a 4th round pick for this guy in order to move off from him. And I don't think anybody's going to offer that, again, because the cap hit. 4.5 sacks, 4th round pick, you're not getting it. I think what's going to happen instead, you keep Samson Ebukam, and you allow him to be the starter until Drake Jackson or Charles Omenihu develop and take over that role, which I think Drake Jackson would be that candidate, not Samson. But that's a luxury that you have. And $6.5 million in cap space, that's not going to make you feel better about it. You have depth at a premium position. Why jinx it for $6.5 million cap space? I don't even see it. And plus, on top of that, let's say you keep him for this year, and eventually Drake Jackson usurps Samson. Great. Now, Samson has an expiring contract. He's in a contract year. He gets to go sign somewhere else, let's just say for $6 to $8 million, very similar to what we paid him. That's a 6th-round comp pick, which the 49ers love that entire position. So even if you do trade him now, you're already going to be getting a pick next year if you let him walk for free. They're not trading Samson unless somebody blows the doors off. But again, I don't think a 4th-round pick's coming through the door for Samson. Maybe if another team that's, playoff caliber loses a big-time star, they want this as a backup, sure. But again, I just do not see it. I think Charles Omenihu would more likely be traded because his contract is friendlier to trade, but that's just me. He's going to play out this year, and eventually you'll get a comp pick for him, so it's the best of both worlds. 49ers are not really big. Let me say it this way. The 49ers are really smart in playing the delayed gratification game. Allow him to play this year, allow him to walk next year, get that comp pick the following year. Delayed gratification is a great, great thing. Something I try to teach my students and players all the time. Not sure I succeeded at that. Now, his career earnings. He's made $10 million in his career thus far, which will almost double this year. He's got $6.5 million coming his way if he can stay healthy. And again, contract year, plus never missed a game in 5 years. It's a safe bet he's going to be out there. 46 career starts, 81 games played. You look at his career stats, 1 interception. He's got 2 touchdowns, defensive touchdowns, 7 pass breakups, 7 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, 18.5 sacks, 188 tackles, 21 tackles for loss, 39 quarterback hits. Decent production. And if you look at just minicamp and OTAs, he took every single first team rep. Every single one of them. And here's D'Amico talking about Samson in camp.
With Samson, towards the end of last year, he definitely started to ascend as far as when it comes to pressuring a quarterback. He started to gain a lot more pressure. I think the more comfortable he got just playing the position, and he's picked up exactly where he's left off. So here in camp, he's been doing a really good job of continuing that, getting pressure, doing those things, all the things that we ask him to do. So Samson is definitely a guy who's getting better up front.
He's starting week 1, guys. That's all there is to it. He's starting opposite of Bosa. I don't think there's any question about it. And hopefully he picks up where he left off last year, like D'Amico said, on that ascension, right? He was good, not great. He was close to great. And his snap rate only went up as we went into the playoffs and down the stretch of last year. I expect that to continue until about week 10. And I think that's when it's going to start to shift slightly to getting Drake Jackson some more playing time. So let's go through my 2022 projections for Samson. Last year, 681 snaps. I've got it going down some to 600. Still going to start early, but as you get later in the season, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a split. 38 tackles last year. I got him getting 40. I think his production level is going to stay high. 5 tackles for loss last year. I got him getting 6, a little more efficient. I'm keeping quarterback hits and sacks the same just because that's where he's been for 3 straight years. 11 quarterback hits, 4.5 sacks, just like last year. Copy and paste. That's just who he is. And that's okay. He doesn't have to be the sack guy. He needs to be the no negative play guy. That's his role on this team. 45 pressures last year. I got him getting 48 this year because I think the defensive line is going to be considerably better. I really, really do. So he's a lock. He's here. I like Samson. I really, really do. I get he might not be the sexiest pick or the sexiest starter, but again, remember this. This is the one thing take away from this. No team in the NFL values defensive line play more than the 49ers. And they got this guy picked as a starter. That should carry weight with the fans, and that should carry weight into the 2022 season for Samson. I'm excited about this guy. Great human, great player, great teammate. He's just great across the board. Production levels might not match that, but he is still important. Want to say thank you to Josh and Anthony, executive producers of this series. We're at 19 with Samson Ebukam. We're just going to keep counting them down here.